Of the 421 seats contested by the Congress party, it lost 369. In fact, the Congress is down to 52 members in Parliament this time. Thanks for joining us. I'm Harsha Subramaniam. The question we are asking is, how can the Grand Old Party of India revive, and what is the way forward? Joining us to discuss that, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, who bucked that trend and won big in Thiruvananthapuram. Dr. Tharoor, thank you so much indeed for joining us today. You won by a handsome 1 lakh vote margin in Trivandrum.
But pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. But the Congress hasn't done so well in most parts of the country. Let me begin this conversation by asking you your assessment of this massive victory by the BJP, and what do you think went awfully wrong for you, especially in the Hindi heartland?
Well, look, it's extremely difficult to say, because I can assure you that no political pundit predicted this until the exit polls came out. We were looking at a whole range of predictions. We were making our own calculations on the basis of ground reports. The expectation was very much that the BJP would peak at somewhere around the 180 range and certainly under 200, and that we would ourselves score in about the 120 to 150 range. So, and this is broadly consensual. It wasn't just a party overconfidence or anything like that. If you read the press during the elections, very few were talking about anything remotely like the kind of wave reflected in the final numbers. So we are still in a bit of a state of shock about what happened. It's very interesting, for example, one of the classic theories of politics, that people vote in their economic self-interest, went right out of the window. I mean, after all, you're looking at 45-year high of unemployment. You're looking at farmers so desperate they're contemplating suicide in record numbers. We have SMEs and micro-enterprises being thrown out and dying because of demonetization. It's been one economic misstep or disaster after the other. And yet the victims of this seem to have still gone ahead and voted for the BJP. I mean, a young man who 5 years ago voted for Mr. Modi because he expected to get a job, there's no logical reason why he should vote for Mr. Modi again 5 years later when he still doesn't have a job. And yet he does seem to have done so. So these are things that require a very detailed study, not a glib answer on a TV camera. We need to actually find out with detailed studies as to what motivated people, what they saw in the BJP, how we misread the tea leaves on our side, and what the BJP did right. And that's why I can only venture speculative guesses. I can't give you a definitive answer, but it looks like the Modi leadership image, this larger-than-life image of this strong man who would keep the country safe, the whole national security messaging after Balakot, and finally the sort of freebies and welfare schemes, which in many ways exist more on paper or in slogans than in reality. The toilets, many of which don't have running water, the Ujjwala connections, many of which no one can afford to refill. And yet all of these seem to have given an impression to the public that this was a government that deserved their support. That's the off the top of my head answer.
Dr. Tharoor, nearly 2/3 of your MPs come from 3 states. That's in Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Punjab. What do you think worked there? Is this the strong local leadership that worked in these states?
You know, they're interesting factors. I mean, I'll be very blunt and say one factor is that Hindutva has a limited appeal in these 3 places. I think that the Hindutva mindset, which seems to have insidiously taken over a fair amount of mind space in many parts of northern India, certainly in the Hindi heartland, ran into a state, Kerala, where there's a 45% non-Hindu population, Punjab, where it's more like 50% non-Hindu population, and Tamil Nadu, where there's a complicated tradition of including atheism and so on, of rationalism, all of which I think significantly limited the appeal of the Hindi, Hindutva, Hindustan kind of approach that we've seen so effectively being promoted by the BJP. I'm sure that's only part of the explanation, but it's a factor. Another factor undoubtedly is the fact that we had strong and effective party organizations in these places. And in Tamil Nadu, I'll concede, we also certainly benefited from the DMK's coattails. But Punjab and Kerala, we're well organized, and of course we're in power in Punjab with a very effective and popular CM in Amrinder Singh. So all of these things have to be borne in mind.
Dr. Tharoor, you know, when religious nationalism emerged as the dominant idea propagated by the BJP, Why wasn't the Congress able to offer a compelling alternate idea that resonated with the voters?
Well, frankly, I don't understand it, because we are the original party of nationalism. It's the Congress that was the nationalist movement incarnate that actually won India its independence. When I wrote my book, An Era of Darkness, I was talking about the entire sort of ideological rationale for the Indian National Congress as a nationalist party. Somehow that has lost its hold on the imaginations of the people in the face of the kind of very jingoistic, chest-thumping, even militaristic sort of messaging that has come out of the ruling party. And, in a democracy, voters will get what they want. And I have to say, we have to respect their wishes. I would have wanted us to offer a more inclusive nationalism as an alternative to this Hindu nationalism. I would have wanted to speak about nationalism transcending religious considerations or linguistic or regional or caste considerations for that matter.
Sure.
I would have liked to have talked about our diversity as part of the strength of our nationhood. And I did all this in my constituency in Kerala, and in Kerala that message was well received. Would it have been well received in the north? I don't know, because perhaps it wasn't tried.
A word about leadership as well, Dr. Tharoor. Mr. Modi made this a presidential campaign. He created this Namdar, Kamdar narrative. In hindsight, do you think that the Congress walked into this trap of BJP setting the agenda and the Congress having to play catch-up?
Look, I mean, I think that the BJP was very good at setting the agenda generally on every issue, not just this one. I mean, they with their organized phalanx of social media warriors, Facebook posts, WhatsApp messaging groups in the lakhs. Somebody said 9 lakh WhatsApp messaging groups were run by the BJP, with their extraordinarily impressive ground organization, the Panna Pramukhs who had 1 page of each voting list and went to every house, the RSS shakhas throwing up volunteers to campaign for them, which I saw in my own constituency. There were RSS members from all over the state of Kerala campaigning in Trivandrum. I mean, they had a very well-financed, well-muscled organization as well. And so that too cannot be underestimated. The leadership was an exercise in image-making, where obviously they managed to excel. I mean, they really managed to convince a large number of people that there was something uniquely special about their leader and his ability to keep the nation safe and strong and guide it in a certain direction and so on. And that relentless messaging over the years seems to have sunk into people's minds. Otherwise, it's difficult to explain this transformation of the BJP from what was essentially a 15 to 19% party in preceding God knows how many elections to 31% last time and now 37% this time. It's an extraordinary phenomenon.
If I look at the road ahead, Dr. Tharoor, a few days ago we saw Rahul Gandhi's offer to resign as the president of the party that's been rejected by the CWC, and deliberations are going on. My question is, can the Congress reimagine a future with a brand new leadership without the Nehru-Gandhi family at the helm?
I don't know, and I don't, frankly, I'm not a member of the CWC, so I wasn't present when all this happened, and I haven't met him since. He's not exactly entertaining a lot of visitors, so he's very serious, it would seem, about his desire to step aside and take the blame or the responsibility for this. I think I will leave that to those who are dealing with this matter to come up to a solution. All I can say is I believe very passionately that what the Congress party stands for is indispensable for this country, that we represent an alternative vision of the idea of India, which is in fact the vision that reflects truly the heart and soul and spirit of this country. I genuinely believe that what the other side is offering is a distorted, narrow-minded, bigoted version of what India should be all about. And therefore I feel very strongly that the idea of the Congress must be preserved and must be taken forward. The Gandhi Nehrus as a family have made an immense contribution to getting the Congress party to where it is. Going back to our first Prime Minister, many have made great sacrifices. 2 of them have lost their lives for the nation. These are not things one could take lightly. I want to stress that it's, however, a larger issue of what the country needs, and the country certainly needs the Congress as a credible alternative. We will revive, and we're going to start reviving already with the upcoming state elections this year. I think it's absolutely indispensable that we do so. To my mind, we will not let down the many millions. Okay, it's 19.6% right now of the electorate, but the people who voted for us and for like-minded parties that would like to see a different kind of India than the one being presented by the Narendra Modi, Amit Shah combined. And we will continue working for that, and I believe that we will succeed in reviving this message.
Okay, Dr. You sort of preempted my question on the idea of India and how you reclaim secularism in that sense. There's also a perception, particularly among the Hindus, that the Congress party does not work in the interests of the majority. Being inclusive is fine, but why alienate the majority is a feeling. How do you propose to change that perception as well in this sort of introspective phase?
Well, I'm only going to point to our own track record. We have initiated a number of governance measures that are completely religion or community neutral. If RTI has made a difference, as it has, to the governance of this country, is anyone saying that only Muslims and Christians can use it? If the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme has brought hope to millions of poor people in the rural areas and increased their purchasing power, has that got something confined only with the minorities? This is nonsense. Most governance measures benefit everybody equally. There's no question of saying that it's that we're neglecting Hindus, when Hindus are the major beneficiaries of all the good things we've done.
Fair point. I have one final question, Dr. Tharoor, and this is, as we speak, there are serious challenges that the economy is facing. There is a prospect of slowing growth. You alluded to the farm crisis, and there is a job crisis on hand. As a senior leader of the opposition, what do you think that the government needs to be focusing? What should it be prioritized? What should its priorities be?
No, I think all of those, frankly, I think it definitely needs to address the agricultural structure and agricultural system in a structural way. Everything from the way in which produce is marketed, purchased and sold, to cold storage and other facilities that practically don't exist. There's a fundamental job to be done in that area, and I hope it'll be done with some modern thinking and imagination. There has to be serious attention paid to unemployment. I'm sorry to say 5 years have been wasted in empty slogans of skill development, whereas even 1% of their declared targets in skilling people and employing people who've been skilled have not been met. That has to be fixed. We've been hearing talk of a new education policy for 5 years. As long as it's not merely religious indoctrination, but serious reforms in education, we would be inclined to support it, provided it was a clear, effective policy. And finally, if you look objectively at this country, there is an overall economic crisis which is really to do with our regulatory environment. We need to take that burden of regulation off, particularly the small, medium and micro enterprises. The little shops that used to look after 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 employees, many of them went under because of demonetization. They have to be revived because unfortunately, given the realities of our country, large-scale manufacturing a la China is never going to come up to be the answer to all our problems. We need to also permit, encourage and support the very small-scale sectors to thrive. So there's a lot to be done, and I wish the government luck in doing it in the interests of all Indians. Where they do the right thing, we will be constructive. Where they seem to be dividing India, I can assure you we will stand up and fight for a better idea of India than the one they have.
I have one final question, Dr. Tharoor. There won't be a leader of opposition. Would you be the leader of the Congress party in the Lok Sabha? Would you consider being the leader of the Congress party in the Lok Sabha?
I have absolutely no idea. That's a decision the Congress party will have to make, the party president will have to make, the leadership will have to make. I'm available. I'm very happy to serve the party in Parliament in whatever capacity they find useful. And certainly, I have been making a number of speeches on a number of issues, and I look forward to doing more of that in whatever capacity.
Dr. Tharoor, thank you so much indeed for joining us with your time. Dr. Shashi Tharoor, Member of Parliament and Senior Congress Leader. If you have been, thank you so much for watching.